It's a real ouch. As you probably know, this Sunday will be 5 years since Hurricane Katrina, the storm that shattered a city, and a belief that Americans will never be stranded inside their own country. Our Bob Woodruff was there on the streets of New Orleans when the waters were rising, and he is back at that same street tonight reporting for us. Good evening again, Bob.
Yes, good afternoon, Diane. This is the place. You know, this is the water you saw in that picture. It was really about this high. That was about 4 days into the flood. Before that, it was actually as high as just under the roof up there. A lot of these houses here have been destroyed and torn down. Other ones have been renovated or replaced. But the people here are not angry. They are angry about how they've been treated through most of this time, and they've got a very long, long road to go.
These are the enduring images of an epic American disaster.
We want out of here today. We had enough. We can't take no more.
5 years ago, still difficult to comprehend and impossible to forget. Floodwaters set loose by Katrina forced tens of thousands from their homes. Some sought refuge on rooftops.
How many people are still in here?
Others crowded into the Superdome and the convention center, where conditions quickly turned deplorable.
This here system that's going on around here is wrong.
Misery was everywhere, relief hard to find. There was little evidence early on of a federal response appropriate for this once-in-a-generation disaster.
We are in desperate need, and we are Americans. It is terrible.
Hundreds here died in the storm, and in the initial days, dozens of bodies were simply left in the streets, a sickening sight in an American city. It was a few days after the storm, at the corner of Magazine and Jackson, we met a man who had walked the streets of his neighborhood and had taken it upon himself to bury a stranger whose body had been laying in the street for 4 days. John Lee said he couldn't just leave her, remembering the nuns who would never have forgiven him for doing nothing.
Please call.
He asked us to leave him in peace.
Go away.
5 years later, we went to find John, and we did on the same corner. John has chosen to stay, living in New Orleans, working in education. He told us while burying the woman, neighbors came and told him stories about Miss Vera.
It was just the most inhuman, degrading thing I've...
He learned she was a married mother of two who had a constant smile and a meticulous garden. She would never have expected her country to have failed her.
When we were left here, it was just neighbors helping neighbors with food, water, burying the dead.
Basically, the administration let you down.
They abandoned us.
And where Vera once lay, a shrine now remains. To John Lee, Vera's memorial is an emblem of lingering grief, a memento of neglect.
I love you, Mr. John.
Love you too.
A close friend of Vera Smith helped John bury Vera that day. Then, like so many others, she left New Orleans for good, returning to visit this week for the first time since the storm.
We'll never forget you, Miss Vera. No matter how many storms, no matter how many years, we'll never forget you, Miss Vera. We love you. Rest in peace.
Amen.
Rest in peace.
It's a small reminder of what should never have happened 5 years ago.
Now, you should know that the head of FEMA says that the agency has learned so much from Katrina that they've actually revamped everything. They now have a plan to get emergency supplies and personnel in place just in case there is another disaster. Diane?
Thank you. Such a moving story of a stranger's life and what we learned. Thank you, Bob Woodruff. And Bob will have more reporting from New Orleans tomorrow night. And still